Welcome back to the O Show, everything crypto and NFTs every day. WendyO here, and I've got a returning guest. I have Mr. Corey. He's over at Swan BTC. Is that the correct website, sir?
Swan Bitcoin. You can just go to swan.com. We bought the Swan.
Oh, you bought the Swan?
We bought the Swan.
Goose?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's going to lay these Bitcoin eggs for the next couple decades, hopefully.
Awesome. Well, before we get started, this episode is going to be about TERRALUNA UST. So before we talk about anything, I understand there's a lot of people who have lost a significant amount of money. And I just want to let you know that I'm sending you love and light, and we're sending you our support in that aspect. Losing money is never a fun thing. And I understand a lot of people are going through very, very hard times. If you're struggling with something, if something is going on, please drop me a line, drop me an email, and I will send you some support through any one of my networks if I can. But I do want to talk to Corey about what happened with TERRALUNA, because he's been kind of outspoken about it for a while. So if you kind of want to tell us, because I've always had my concerns about TERRALUNA UST, because like Luna itself, and again, you guys, I talk about altcoins on the show, and I love Bitcoin as well. I think the two can exist together, respectfully. And that's what we're going to do on the show today. But TERRALUNA, okay, great. But when they created their own algorithmic peg stablecoin, I was a little bit, I like the idea that it was backed by Bitcoin. But at the same time, I was like, this is kind of, something wasn't sitting right with me. And I think the thing that wasn't sitting right with me was really the amount of VCs they had, the investors that they had, the capital, then like all the collateralized stuff. It just really wasn't, there were some things happening. So Corey, if you kind of want to talk about some of the red flags that you saw about the project, because I know that, you're a big Bitcoin guy, and a lot of Bitcoiners are very excited about Bitcoin collateralized loans these days. And most people are taking those out to help with taxes because that's legal.
Okay. Well, let me just first start that saying, like, I also empathize and sympathize and have compassion for people that lose money, especially when it happens quickly. It's brutal. Mm-hmm. I came into the market in spring of 2017, and I messed around with crypto and punting coins on Binance and ICOs and the whole deal for the first year before I decided to just focus on 100% Bitcoin by kind of spring of 2018. So, I empathize. It's part of the journey honestly, maybe 1 out of 20 people, 1 out of 100 people kind of skip crypto and go straight to Bitcoin and just stay just in Bitcoin. It's almost impossible. We always talk about, even in my circles where, most of my friends are 100% Bitcoin, like we call it the altcoin horseshoe. You start with Bitcoin, you explore crypto, and, mm-hmm. And a lot of people come out the other side, just, at some point, just focusing on Bitcoin. They find out they weren't a world-class trader or just get wrecked. And then they kind of like, oh, wait, there is kind of something that's actually real here that isn't just kind of, I tweeted something that I think was really important a couple of days ago, which is basically that the value of altcoins comes from their community, or that, basically it was that altcoins have value because of their community, and Bitcoin has community because it actually has value.
Okay, fair enough.
And I think that's really the difference. Like, Bitcoin doesn't rely on sort of like 3-3 scenarios, or like we are all going to make it and that kind of stuff. Like, it actually has objectively, like, truthful, physical properties based in physics and economics and history and poli-sci that make it better money. So I think it's really important, to take this as a time to go deeper down the Bitcoin rabbit hole. Like, it's crypto fall, at least, if not crypto winter. And that is a great time to start re-examining what started this whole thing off back in 2008 and actually really getting to know it. I've got somebody in my YPO forum who has skipped Bitcoin completely, never even looked at what is money. He's a total Keynesian, doesn't understand classical economics, doesn't understand that you don't need inflation to, that doesn't understand you could actually run the global economy on $1 if you could actually split it up into small enough pieces. Mm-hmm. Some of these things he's just never questioned. And so he kind of discarded Bitcoin out of hand because he followed some of these narratives, frankly, from traditional finance and fiat world and Keynesian economics. And frankly, a lot of the altcoin fund managers and altcoin promoters, the narratives that they create and that they use to kind of denigrate Bitcoin and say like, I've got something better, or I've got something also. So
I also want to, one of the things that I always tell people that are brand new to the space, read Satoshi's white paper, take terms from Satoshi's white paper. Maybe you don't understand what blockchain means. Maybe you don't understand what immutable or digital cash, whatever it is. Google these terms, understand these terms. And let's say you've done your research, you read the Bitcoin white paper and you're like, you know what? I don't really like Bitcoin. That's okay. At least you've done your due diligence. But because, everybody's different. And I am very much about letting people spend their money the way they want to, because I'm not an ivory tower. I'm not here to tell people what to do. But I don't like the narrative that some people that like altcoins push, that altcoins are better than Bitcoin, because in my personal opinion, I think Bitcoin has got a beautiful thing that it does, and altcoins have their own role. And they, I like positive competition, and that can be debated all we want to, but that's not what we're going to do here today. Me as a human being, I just want other people to do what makes them happy. And if they get wrecked along the way, that can be part of their journey, but you can also get wrecked with Bitcoin too if you do things that are irresponsible, if you trade with leverage, or if you are not investing smart, different stuff like that. So there's pros and cons for everything. Some people might say there's more cons here or more pros here. I'm not here to do that. I'm just here to provide my opinion, bring on really dope guests, and to help people make a decision for themselves. Because at the end of the day, if I sit and tell somebody what to do, then it makes me just as bad as some of the legalized cartels. So that's all.
So let's talk about stablecoins. So I think at the root of this is probably a false marketing claim that it's possible to have a decentralized stablecoin.
They're not decentralized any way, shape, or form.
It's impossible. So if you have a fully collateralized stablecoin like USDC or Tether, by definition, there's a team, they have bank accounts, all that stuff. If you have a algorithmic stablecoin, by definition, it's easy to attack because there's nothing backing it. And so you are going to have a centralized team conducting open market operations, constantly, actively managing it. You've just recreated the Fed, or really more like you've recreated the central bank of like a tiny third world country.
Correct.
Right. This is like a banana republic central bank. So that's what Do Kwon was. He was trying to be Jerome Powell, but he doesn't actually know what he's doing. It's even more hilarious that it appears he actually enabled the attack by doing an OTC trade with the guys who actually attacked him. So you saw the tweet from Mr. Charles Hoskinson, right? I did not see what the Hosk had to say. Now his scam is much longer running and worse than Luna, but it's obfuscated by more complicated whiteboarding.
Okay, because basically they said that BlackRock and Gemini were involved in all kinds of stuff, and it was a post on Reddit, whatever it is, and I'm just like, this is the thing. I'm looking at this stuff. Like, I thought it was common knowledge that people knew that Tether and USDC were centralized because they're centralized entities. They go through these two coins go through strict rule. They go through strict law. They go through strict scrutiny under regulators. Like we saw Tether with the NYAG, whatever. But I just, like, when I saw UST, it was a lot of red flags to me. Something in my gut was like, this is not okay. And that was another thing I was worried about. And I kind of told my audience, like, yeah, I have a moon bag of Luna, but at the same time, I was like, I'd be really careful because it just doesn't make sense the way that they're delegating and they're doing all this stuff. It doesn't seem very transparent, because you can see, like with Bitcoin, you could, for the most part, unless it's an OTC deal, you can see this stuff, what's happening on the blockchain. It's all there. But I feel like with TERRALUNA, there was a lot of things happening, especially with a lot of big investors and VCs that just weren't, I feel like if people had more information on it, would have changed their risk tolerance, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of the sort of most obvious snake pits of information asymmetry, and essentially what the game was really is paying people to stake their UST on Anchor so that their free tokens or very cheaply acquired tokens, Luna tokens, could be dumped on retail. And so, they were trying to keep that thing going. You wonder why would Jump actually just like give them $300 million or something like that for, the LFG reserve. Who's giving them this money? Well, if you can keep on pumping the price of Luna by pretending that it's being used for transactions on some shopping app in Korea, which wasn't actually happening, and you can put out some like logo vomit slide of the Terra ecosystem, but really like each one of those projects, one anonymous dev, living in Doe's basement is responsible for like 18 of those projects, and there's no volume on any of them. Like the whole Luna ecosystem is basically a joke. The whole game was just give us your money, put it in UST, put the UST on Anchor. That was like 75% of the UST balance, and clip that 20% coupon and help us pump our Luna bag so that we can dump on retail. That's all it was. There's nothing else going on here. It's just a pure Ponzi scheme. So I hope that people, both in the Bitcoin space, because the only reason that I got involved in this at all, like I don't sit here thinking like, oh my gosh, I've got to break down Hex today and go attack it. I've got to think about what's wrong with Polkadot. It's very rare. I don't think that I've ever done this with an altcoin, frankly. And the only reason that it caught my attention is because they came around Bitcoin and tried to, get on Bitcoin podcasts and claim that like it was somehow good for Bitcoin, that they were buying up Bitcoin to use for their useless little treasury reserve. And it was just patently obvious that this was not going to be good for Bitcoin, that, you shouldn't basically like pledge your own credibility to help an altcoiner promote their scam. So that's where it made me mad and why I attacked it the last few months.
Question. Do you think, let's say because we all know that we all know that a CBDC is coming to the United States.
I don't know that one's coming in the US actually.
Well, I feel that it is, because I'm following the little hints that I'm seeing being put all over. We have Circle. Circle's got USDC. Yep. They're like kind of partnered with FTX. FTX's investor, Alameda Researches. FTX also gave a really big donation to the Biden administration, regardless of your political standpoint. Doesn't really matter. It's all here. Government is all the same thing. But I feel like they're going to be using USDC for the stablecoin. And I also feel like there was also an announcement, I think BlackRock invested like 400 million in USDC, whatever. But let's say, for example, USDC came out and said, or the United States of America says, we're going to create a stable coin. We're going to create a CBDC, and we're going to back, because, they have different assets that are backing Tether and USDC. Like they have bonds, they have cash, they have whatever the hell else. What happens if they came out and they're like, we're going to have a little part of our American stable coin or American CBDC that has like 5% backed by Bitcoin? How would you feel about that? And do you think that would work, considering that they are using cash and other assets as well? Because I feel like, I don't know what the breakdown of Luna was, but I feel like it was like kind of high.
I mean, you're literally just talking about the US government putting Bitcoin in its reserves, which is inevitable.
Right.
It will happen.
I think they already have it in their reserves. We're just not aware.
Maybe. It's very possible. We don't know. Yeah, it'd be very hard to find out. We may find out someday that they actually accumulated quite a big chunk. But, I think if it was real size, I think that it would leak out, or they would just announce it. And I think they're far, far away from that. I mean, it's in the interest of pretty much everybody in DC to keep the current game going as long as possible. And if you talk to people out there, like so few of them know anything about Bitcoin. So I actually think that maybe Occam's razor, like simplest explanation, is like usually the right one. I actually think that there is not like any sort of large accumulation program going on for the US government buying up Bitcoin. I don't think it's happening at all.
Well, we know China owns a decent amount of Bitcoin.
Yeah, not that much though.
Another question: how do you feel about passive income platforms like Gemini or maybe FTX US that are offering Bitcoin, essentially Bitcoin rewards? You hold your Bitcoin on the platform, and they give you like 3% back or 2% back by holding there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I've already sort of smacked down BlockFi for doing it and blocked Coinbase from doing it, right? So it is a security because your Bitcoin is being lent out to, the same types of people like Citadel that are that are going and using that Bitcoin to short, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's a security. So if it's actually marketed as a security, like free markets, that's fine. Just don't promote it as an interest-bearing savings account. It's obviously not that. You are basically you're a lender.
And question: do you think that the Bitcoin market crashed, or the Bitcoin price crashed, because of this TerraLuna debacle?
Well, actually, they shorted Bitcoin to walk the price down over the last few weeks so that they could attack Luna. Okay. So it got cause and effect backwards there.
Okay. Do you think that we're entering a bear market?
I mean, we're in one already, right? Down more than 50% from the recent high since November. So I guess that we're in a pretty aggressive bear market for a lot of the alts, and Bitcoin is down more than 50%. So that's a bear market.
What about May of 2021 when we kissed an all-time high of 65,000 and we jumped to approximately 20? Did you consider that a bear market also?
Yeah, that was a bear market.
Really?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm actually only think there's been one cycle, and that we're all sort of fooled by randomness into thinking that somehow it's like tied to the halvings.
Okay.
You know, there was a bull market that lasted through 2011, and then it crashed. And then there was one from 2011 to 2013. And then there was one, all-time high in 2013, took 4 years to get back there in 2017. Then there was a new all-time high in May of 2021. Then we crashed down more than 50%. Then we had a new all-time high in November. Now we've crashed down more than 50%. Pretty good chance. I don't know what it is. It's probably like north of 20%, maybe less than 50% that we get through 70 by the end of the year. Who knows? Right?
Okay.
Like we could have a new all-time high this year or by next year. I don't know. I don't think that one data point of 1 4-year cycle, proves anything. We don't know what's going to happen with price. Market structure is completely different. We didn't have the CME until 2018. Like, it's just really hard to move this thing the way it used to move.
Right.
There's a funny thing, by the way, and I'm not big, and so this is not a prognostication at all of what will happen in the future. I just find it just absolutely fascinating that from trough to peak, the peak in 2013 was from $2 to 1,100, so 550x.
Wow.
From the trough in 14, 15 up through 2017 was 180 to 19,700. That was 110x, exactly 5x less, right? 20% in percentage terms. From trough in December of 2018 through the peak in November of 2021, we went from 3,150 to 69,000. That was 22x, exactly 1/5 of the previous rise.
Interesting.
Isn't that weird?
Math is fun, isn't it?
I love numbers. Yeah. I don't know.
Really
They don't,
cool.
But again, totally fooled by randomness. Cause then I'd be saying like, okay, well then we'll go up like 4.4x from 30K. And, I'd be super disappointed with a next all-time high of like 130K. I want to see that thing in the 200s, 300s, something like that.
Okay. So do you believe the stock to flow model?
So the only other thing that I've actually gone hard at, because I just really I don't like false narratives, and I don't like Bitcoiners, especially influential Bitcoiners, losing their credibility by promoting things that are false, because it hurts my team, right? They're on Team Bitcoin. And so if they are going and telling people something that's false, like Luna is good for Bitcoin or stock to flow models have any validity whatsoever, instead of what should happen if you have a basic like 101 level understanding of econometrics and stats, you throw them out because they're garbage. That was the only thing that I ever really have attacked in the last few years was that.
Okay, fair enough. Where can people find you?
Swan.com. Come and I would just say this, like, we get a ton of people coming over that actually are still very active in crypto. A lot of crypto fund managers and VCs send their friends and family to Swan, frankly. If you have anyone in your network, like maybe you are actually like an active crypto trader and you're into the stuff, and like power to you. If you have like friends and family, colleagues that you like, they're not going to put in the time, and that they're going to get wrecked if they get into trading alts, like just send them to Swan. Make sure they set up an automatic recurring purchase plan, just dollar cost average into Bitcoin. That's what I do every single day. I still invest in, startups. I have, I work with public companies and get stocks. Like, it's not like I'm 100% Bitcoin and like mortgage my house for Bitcoin and stuff. Like,
thank you for clarifying that. You're not that type of maxi.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I got a family and kids and the whole deal. Like, I gotta have a little bit of diversity. I just think it's really important to always be accumulating Bitcoin and always make sure the number of sats that you own always goes up. it's very hard to sell through Swan. We don't have a sell button. You have to actually like contact us and sell. You can, it's actually pretty easy, but nobody does, because we only talk about Bitcoin as a long-term savings. Only buy Bitcoin that you'll never have to sell. You know, buy this Bitcoin if you're going to hold it for at least 5 to 10 years, that kind of thing. So I think we're actually a really good tool in your, in your tool chest, basically, especially for your friends and family and other people in your network that are going to get wrecked if they try to do what you do. Just send them to Swan.
Yeah, that's something we always, especially on my channel, I always tell people to start fresh with Bitcoin, read the white paper and then make your own choice. But you'd be very proud of my 5-year-old daughter. I bought her a tangible Bitcoin coin because she's a holder. When Bitcoin dumped 2018, 2019, when we were like below 10K, I started buying Bitcoin. I liquidated her savings account and I put I put all the cash into Bitcoin. And we bought from around 10K to like 4K, I would say. So she has a little tangible Bitcoin and she's like, Mom, you can't tell anybody I have this.
Nice.
And then she puts it underneath her rug in her room. And like I was walking in there doing laundry. I'm like, what is this? And she's like, I'm hiding my Bitcoin, Mom. Don't tell anybody that it's here. I have to keep it safe. And I'm like, you're awesome.
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah, my kids, my 2 daughters are 4 and 7, and they like Bitcoin ends up in their art projects now sometimes, and they make up hilarious things now. It's really funny.
Yeah, my mom goes, or my daughter, she goes, Mom, you know, you can just like when I'm paying with my card for stuff, she's like, can't you just pay with the Bitcoin? And I'm like, well, this is kind of paying with Bitcoin because mommy has to take I explained the whole thing, but anyways, but Corey, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about this event. Also to you guys, Corey and I are sending you all Love and Light. If you're somebody that was impacted by what happened with Terra Luna, we are sending you Love and Light. And if you want to learn more about Bitcoin, Swan can definitely help you guys with that. There's no judgment over there. So you are free to go there and learn more about Bitcoin. And if the team can't help you with something, I'm sure that they can direct you to a place that is willing and able to. Corey, thank you so much for coming on. I'll catch you next time.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.